Hey guys, look what I did. Put it on before I cranked the truck. Maybe I'm learning. So welcome back to the Kylo Show. What I've got for you today is kind of a triple split vlog. The first bit of it, we had several days of rain. There was no flying and I was off work, chores were caught up. So I ended up just driving over to the movies and I just did a little vlogging while I was driving. That's the first half of this video. If you want to get to the paramotor stuff, that's going to be the second part. It's beautiful Saturday morning. Currently, there are storms inbound. I've got to fly the last few days in a row. I got some good videos coming on that. The second part of this vlog was me hanging out with the students, and I'm just gonna leave a lot of like the extra footage where I set the helmet down and I was visiting and talking about different things and what we were doing. I did do a lot of like vlogging while I was flying, so I'm gonna do some voiceovers on that. Ultimately, I did several flights where the air was kind of choppy. It was turbulent down low, not conducive for new pilots on their first 5 flights or so. There was one student flying around, you'll see him, Bob. He was maybe on his 20th or 30th flight. He was able to handle a little bit of turbulence without issue. He had his landings down pat, done numerous touch and goes over those. His second flight, he did something like 5 or 10 touch and goes. It was just an amazing second flight. Bob was up there checking the air out and bouncing around, and everybody was concerned, but I knew he was fine. I went up there and tested the air, so I knew the air was safe. It was just not perfect for guys that needed to take like their first flights or, under 10 flights kind of pilots. It varies for everybody, and I kind of gauge somebody's skill level on that. This night, we got 2 new pilots to fly, and I didn't record that. I was doing instruction. I had 2 students in the air, so I had to really focus on them. Had no time to do any camera shenanigans when I've got 2 guys on their first flight at the same time. I was able to get those guys a flight, and they landed the last 10 minutes of the day. I knew we would have a window where it would be good. It just happened way later than what I would have hoped. But that's what this video is. I hope you enjoy it. Ready for this. Rainy day with Kylo. I buckled my seatbelt before I turned on the camera this time. This is kind of a pastime of mine that before I taught paramotor, whenever I was caught up with chores and it was a rainy day and I was off, one of my favorite things to do, and usually Jen was at work and the kids were at school, so I was by myself for a majority of the day, and if I didn't take care of all my tinkering in the dark, one thing that I really enjoyed doing was driving over here to the movies. Now, some of you may know my history with the television and all. My history with TV 11 years ago, it was 11 years ago, coming up next month. 10 years and 11 months ago, I turned off my TV. I called up the satellite company and I said, hey, turn it off. I don't want to watch it anymore. I'm paying $109 a month to spend approximately 30 hours sitting in front of this dang thing and looking at it. I said, I could put that money in the bank and use that time for something more productive. And just the money that I've not paid over those 10 years, 11 months is somewhere in the realm of like $12,000 that I've saved. That's enough to buy an entire brand new shiny paramotor setup, wing and motor. At least one of them, I guess, I've paid for by just not watching TV over the last decade. So anyway, one of the things I like to do when I was off alone and the chores were caught up and I didn't have anything to watch is to go watch a movie at the movie theater. I don't catch all of them. I don't even know what's playing because I don't watch TV. I don't see too many previews. The occasional one on Facebook or something. But I'm gonna go over here and check out a movie, I hope. It's probably, I'll pick one of the ones that's been out for a while because I've not been in a while. I'll just see what's playing. I never really look. I like to drive over there and just sometimes I look at a poster. Some of the coolest movies I've ever seen. I just looked at a poster and thought, okay, that one. Well, let's go figure it out. I'll just take you along with me. I know you're not supposed to bring cameras inside the theater. Yeah, rainy day. Rainy damn day. Well, let's get to it then. Let's see, rainy day with Kyle. Here we go.
Gaining absolute power over the 130 plus people on Batavia's graveyard. Their first act was to carry out the execution of the 2 wine thieves.
That's one of my favorite podcasts, Case File. This is the oldest one I've ever heard. This stuff took place in the mid 1600s. I forget the exact year. The Batavia. I guess if you want to look that up, that's what this podcast is about. It's a ship. They got marooned. This was way back in the day. They had to fend for themselves, and these guys had some pretty dark plots, and we're about to find out what exactly happened. So that's what I do. I like to listen to podcasts and drive, even in the rain, but I'm fit to get back to this. So I watched the movie 1917. It was a good movie. It was, yeah, it's worth watching, I think. Kyle's stamp of approval. It's still raining. The kind of rain that starts and lasts for a couple of days. It's supposed to be pretty this weekend though, so I know we've got some good stuff coming. I guess I might go home and edit a video. That's about all there is to do on a day like today. And then back to Paris stuffs tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed that. What's up, everybody? Kyle out. So it appears that the rain has stopped. Maybe we can get back to normal now. Maybe the ground will dry out today.
Wrong.
Story of my life. You know, just because the rain stops doesn't mean we have this like, let's go train right now. The ground has to dry. Around here, it's just ankle deep mud. You start doing some ground handling and all of a sudden the glider's sopping wet. Now for pilots who are able to fly, you could certainly find a dry patch, although not right now, because even the road's wet. If the road's wet, everything's wet. That's just the way it is. Once everything starts to drain and dry, you can find a high patch, lay your wing out, and do a launch. And flying is no problem, but ground ops tend to be when everything is this wet. You know, eventually your glider's gonna come down, pick up moisture, become harder and harder and harder, especially for newer guys who are learning to kite. The glider's gonna spend some time on the ground. So we'll wait another day or so before training resumes for ground handling operations. We'll see you then. So I told y'all if I was gonna do a flight, I'd turn the camera on. This is it. This is the first long day of spring that we've had. Time changed last night. Got students all over the field. Everybody's having a good old time. And it's about the time to fly, we think. We're gonna go up and, I'm gonna go up and check the air and make sure that it's what we like. And I can't remember whose motor is set up for who. I think that's Caleb. And I believe this one is set up for Elijah. Care if I take your wing, John? I won't be long. I'm just gonna go test the waters for everybody. I mean, I know it's bumpy, but I want to feel the winds aloft, that sort of thing. We'll figure it out. Clip. Motor seems to work. That's good. We're gonna strap up into this universal here and go dip our toes in the water and see what we're dealing with aloft, just so the students don't go up in something gnarly. There's gonna be a good window this evening. I'm 100% on it. I just don't know when. It could be after dark when it happens. You don't know if you don't go. So the thermal activity is still pretty dang strong. You know, for guys taking their, under 10 flight, right? All these guys have had basically a flight. I love it when the school is operating at full capacity. You know, it's still up for debate. It's still too gnarly for like newer guys, but it's not too bad though. And when I say not too bad, I'm specifically referring to experienced pilots. Like I mentioned earlier, this day had a weird shear layer at about 150, 200 feet that was just wildly turbulent, at least wildly for newer pilots, but I was having fun, so I did a little bit of vlogging. Let's watch it. Let's do a taxi down the center line. I don't know if I've ever done that. I've done foot drags here, but not too much taxiing. Whenever I do fly like this in front of the students, I try to demonstrate what I want them to do. In this case, I'm holding power and brakes and just sort of jogging along. And I did this several times. The winds were perfect for it. Anytime you've got that nice breeze where you can just jog along at sort of half or 3/4 flying speed, you really do exercise a lot of good skills. And you're just kiting. You're just kiting away you're just letting the motor push you. And that's like a taxi. And taxiing is one of the best ways to learn how to fly good, because flying is easy. It's near the ground where you run into all your troubles, and so that's where you really want your skills to be the strongest. If you're weak on the ground, you will ultimately end up having a fumble, an accident, a busted prop. If you're good on the ground, that's where you'll shine. You'll never have a problem. And you can, check this technique out. If your wing ever balls up and you've got wind, you can just keep puffing it up and you're building a wall. Anytime you got those sails showing at the leading edge, you can get air in the wing and push it over into the other side. So anytime you got a mess, if you can see some sails and there's some wind blowing, you can fix it without having to walk. Phone fucked it up. All right, edit. So like I was saying, there's some wind and there's some leading edge sails. Typically you can fix a wing without having to walk over to it and correct it manually. Learn these tricks, practice these tricks. You'll be a much stronger pilot if you do. Flies real good, John. Oh yeah? One of your legs is not even?
Top is off.
Huh.
I don't know if it had any effect on the flying.
The shoulder straps don't have anything to do in flight.
Back in the motor.
Mr. John ultimately had a loose connection on his upper harness to frame connection there, so we got that corrected. Still recording. As bad as it was at 200 feet, conditions on the ground were very, very nice. So we got a lot of ground handling practice in this day. It feels not too bad. So I'm gonna make one more trip up there just to check it.
Them clouds moved through and it died right down.
Yeah, everything I think is sick. It was pretty salty. Okay, we think it's good, but we're curious about the winds aloft. So I'm gonna go up there, try it out, and if we like it, pay attention to like where my hands are at when I'm giving it throttle and doing my run. I'll be a lot deeper than you think, but try to put a mental image in there of where I'm at in relation to the carabiner with my hand, and that'll be, you'll know at full power you can go there. And it's just right. I never treat it like a launch. I always treat it like I'm kiting. If I like it, I'll proceed. But I'm not trying to turn too quick. I'm not trying to I'm not doing anything too fast. I'm just letting it happen the speed it happens. If I'm standing here real slow, I'm real ginger on the brakes. If I'm hitting the gas, I can be a little more aggressive on how deep I pull because I'm moving. When I came through a while ago, hop, skipping, and jumping, I had deep brakes. But I was at almost full power cruising along. So something to think about. Clip. See, it's not warm. You can't, that's how you tell if it's warm enough to go. If you can hit full power, there it goes. It's still a little cold though. So the majority of the rest of this evening, I spent just going up, checking the air, coming down, taxiing, flying. I'm just going to leave a little montage in here just because we're all locked away trying to waste time. I'm going to let you watch it. It's just a couple minutes of footage here. I'll throw some tunes on. Enjoy that, and then there's some chitter chatter with me and the students. The GoPro stabilization makes it where you can't really tell, but on this little run here, I'm taking these big, huge leaping strides like a deer bouncing across the prairie or something. You can kind of tell if you watch the footage bouncing, but I'm just like boing, boing, boing. So what's about to happen is the students become concerned. Bob flies through some turbulence. You can't tell, but to the west, the sun has poked back out and started heating the ground again. So there was actually quite a bit of thermal activity, more so than what you would think by just looking at this, overcast video. But they started telling me that he's having trouble turning, and I was watching, and I'd been up there, and Bob knows what he's doing at this point, so I'm not worried about it. But I want to leave the interaction here for you to check out. Hold on, I can't hear. What's up?
He's having some trouble up there.
What happened?
He's getting lifted. I think he's having trouble turning around.
Oh no, he's doing fine. Weight shift, lean, pull, hold. It's thermally like crazy up there.
What's that?
It's thermally, there's thermal.
Yeah, well, that's what I say. He was having trouble turning around because every time he tried to turn a little bit, he'd get about half the twist and he'd straighten back out again.
Huh.
He was trying to get up high enough so he could get down here and turn around, but he was having trouble. Yeah, he was getting slammed out there.
There's some pretty moderate thermal activity still, more than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
I saw those buzzards circling up there, so I went up ahead of them. And
we saw him right back here just took off.
Yeah,
There was about 5 of them just having a ball.
Did y'all see me climbing at idle?
Yeah.
And cruising up over the trees? Yeah.
That's what was happening to him. And he stayed in the throttle, though, trying to get him,
Oh,
control.
higher the better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, say you do have something.
Yeah.
Up there is where you want to have it. There's nothing to hit. Higher's better, man. There's nothing to hit up there. The ground is what'll fuck you up.
Bet you 50 cents he's coming down. What do you want to bet?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. He flew in some raunchy stuff the other day.
Yeah, he said he
It's really not bad, like 100 feet and below.
Yeah.
But like up above it, and I don't want to say it's bad. It's really not. Nothing is up there that's big enough to really hurt you. As long as you're putting some pressure on the brakes, it's not collapse-worthy activity happening. But it's not comfortable for a new guy either, right?
Well, it was the difference between us
I don't want to shake anybody's lunch up.
we watched you fly in it, and it looked like everything was fine. And he went up, and you go, oh shit.
Well,
he's coming in. Probably on top of that probably on top of my universe.
Yeah, we can clear out. We'll give him some room. So at this point, we all start watching Bob, and he's up there flying around, and I seem to be the only one thinking that he's having a good time. Everybody else is concerned, but he was having a good time. The fact is, we don't want to be at home if it's good. Standing here ready to go is the real treat. Let's go up here and join Bob. Good.
Funky fella.
So I decided to go up high on this flight, and I ended up going to an altitude where I was parked. I wasn't making any headway, and I decided to pull some big ears and come on down, and you'll see that in a second. But yeah, look at here, I'm just going nowhere quick. So I decided to do a descent to get in some lighter wind speeds. Again, it's quite nice for somebody who knows what they're doing, but as you can see me bouncing around, it's not the best conditions for new guys. But as I was doing big ears and coming down into the field, I think David tried to take a picture of me. And I landed, and he asked me, he's like, I was trying to get your picture. I was like, well, hey, that's no problem. Let's do it again. And so I did another pass, and it turns out that a Universal with big ears and an Atom 80 and a 220-pound pilot will actually climb. So check this out. What's that, Dave?
I was going to get you to go do another big ear. I didn't have my camera in my pocket.
What's that?
I was going to get you to come in like you did a while ago with the big ears coming on.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Good hell.
I'll do it.
Yeah, do it.
It's just ugly at 200 feet. We don't want that. We want it beautiful. It's okay if you don't mind it. Here's a great example or a demonstration of when to abort. Right here, things go crooked. If he had kept going, that would have been a wreck, busted prop. But he stopped, turned around, reset. Oh. Good job. Do it forward. It's like it's bad at all the wrong places.
I've never seen anybody do a powered on takeoff with big ears.
Yeah. Fun, huh?
It looked fun.
Said it's bad or something.
Oh, I said it's not bad. It's just at exactly 200 feet is where it's shitty. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, it's kind of rowdy up there.
Yeah.
It's fun as heck.
Not for first timers, right?
Yeah, I think a little bit. And it's not too far up. And
It's going down. I wonder.
how much more we got? Like 30 minutes?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm gonna watch. Keep flying. I'm gonna.
Fine, he said. Keep flying.
Yeah, do come in and out of the field. I want to see what it looks like at different altitudes.
Okay.
Just feel it out for us. We're gonna watch. You know, to anybody looking, it nothing. I mean, even the worst of the worst. Let somebody do a SIV. It don't look like anything. You know, a full stall looks pretty benign from the ground, but when it's you up there, it's like a lot of shit happening, right? It always feels worse than it is. I try to imagine myself as like what I would look like somebody looking up. Like, is this bad? Am I really in some shit here? And then I think, you know, no, I'm just kind of like what Bob looked like up there. You know, he thinks he's at rowdy.
Well, it was rowdy when he first went up, and it looked it too.
Yeah, and it's pretty similar. So let's talk about Bob's launch here. We're going to do a little critiquing. What he did was a very minor mistake, which could end badly. So the wing, he inflated it. There was a little wind. A forward launch speeds the wing. Well, the wing got past him right here. He stopped it, then he hit the gas, and he came off the ground, but immediately the wing pitches back forward, and he has to take some steps. Now, had he jumped in his seat, then it could have hit the ground and caused damage. But good job, Bob, on the recovery, but I'd like to see you focus on that pitch control initially before jamming the power. Yeah, right about 2 times the height of the trees is where I had it. And it was every time I went through that layer, it would bounce the shit out of me. So we spent the majority of the rest of the evening watching Bob fly around. I believe this was his last day here before he returned home to Arizona. And ultimately, the 2 guys got their first flights, but it was right at dark. Like, I didn't record that, of course, I mentioned that earlier, but I went back up on, let's see, it was John's wing and motor to make sure that it was flying right. He said it was like turning him to the left, but I couldn't find anything wrong with it. And I turned the camera on for just a few seconds before the battery died again, and this is it right here. This was the last 5 minutes of available light to use, so put the strobe on, had at it, and this is the end of the video. I'm going to cut it here and get to my Saturday afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it. Consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Much love, everybody. Kyle out.